Give it to me early. Holla at me, man.
All right. So WNBA star Brittney Griner, she is finally returning to the league. So according to ESPN, the 32-year-old signed a one-year contract with Phoenix Mercury, the team who drafted her in 2013. Griner missed the 2022 season after being arrested and detained in Russia for 10 months when Russian authorities found hashish oil in her luggage as she traveled through an airport in Moscow. So in 2021, which proved to be one of the best years in Griner's career, she led Mercury to the WNBA finals, but unfortunately they lost to the Chicago Sky. But when Brittney returned home, she made a vow to return to the team. She wrote on her Instagram, I also want to make one thing very clear. I intend to play basketball for the WNBA's Phoenix Mercury this season, and in doing so, I look forward to being able to say thank you to those who advocated, wrote, and posted for me in person soon. So she made good on her promise by signing the contract for just $165,100. Yeah.
That's more than I get. Oh, man. We gotta... This is what I'm going to say about this, right? Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, we have to do better with, paying, all these entertainers, period. Do better. The women's basketball team are severely underpaid. Mm-hmm. I will say this, though. I would like to see more women at those games. I went to a couple WNBA games, and literally, it's 90% men.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I was going to say, and I would like to hear what Lady Estott has to say, because I know she talked about this before, but I just was like thinking to myself, like, dag, I know this season she's going to bring an audience with her because of what she went through. People are going to want to see her.
Yeah, people are going to want to see her. But I just, overall, I think just like anything else, we have to support each other.
Exactly.
And I think there's always been a bias in sports where folks just feel like the men are better or more entertaining to watch for different reasons. I mean, I even, you hear it a lot with the NBA. And I hear people make jokes about it. It's like, well, why do I want to watch them do layups all day? Because they're not dunking and stuff, probably like the guys. But I mean, come on. I mean, I've heard people make jokes about it. Even literally like the right on ESPN type people. You know what I mean? So, it's definitely up to us to do our due diligence. Like anything else, it starts with us. So women supporting women. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I know I'm definitely gonna make it my business.
Please do. Mm-hmm. Please do. I want you to go. I want you to go and check them out, and they're really good.
Ratings, ticket sales, everything is not the same.
Yeah,
which could explain why they're not getting paid as much.
Yeah. I mean, there you go. I mean, they have to cover. They gotta cover the building. Mm-hmm. They gotta turn on the lights.
Yeah.
But I definitely, this is a plea, because I for the first time, I'm not gonna talk about men. Mm-hmm. Ladies, I need you to go out and support your own. Yeah. It's us out there. The men are there supporting. Mm-hmm. Literally, I went on my own, and I'm like, okay, why so many men here? It was nothing but men. And most of the women that were there were people who were either working at the venue or part of the team, kind of like the coaching team or the staff. I'm like, yo, what's going on here, right? So y'all got, I mean, hey.
So ladies, y'all hear that? It's a lot of men at these women's games. Y'all be going to these men's games trying to find the men. But they up in these women's games too. I'm just saying.
I'm being there looking for a woman playing basketball.
Yes. Now you just gave me another reason to go today.
Let's get to this game. Yeah. For all of you guys out there who didn't know, thank you, Charles, for letting us know what it's doing up over there.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, there you go.
Now we know.
Yeah, ladies, you want to pick something up? Go to one of those women WNBA games.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I'm ready.
I'm looking up tickets now.
Okay. So, Black History Month, it just isn't Black History Month without the racist rhetoric and shade that comes along with the annual revisitation of the history of America's knee on the necks of blacks. But here we are. We're front and center of, once again, we have writer, actor, and conservative commentator Ben Stein. He's mainly remembered for his role in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and The Mask and a couple other things. And I totally forgot that he was in that eye commercial, the red eye commercial. I forgot about that. But he goes on this low key rant in a video that was posted on Truth Social. Ben is in the kitchen. He's making what he says is breakfast for dinner, because some people do like, I'm gonna have breakfast for dinner. So while he's holding a new model bottle of the Aunt Jemima pancake syrup. So in the video, Ben says, "This used to show a large African American woman chef."
Large African woman.
He said this used to.
Hold on.
You try to find something.
Yeah, I need to see this.
Pause.
Yeah, you gotta pull up the video though. It was like,
I know. I'm
but
Jesus Christ.
he
A
said,
large African woman.
yes, he said this used to show a large African American woman chef, but because of the inherent racism on America's corporate culture, they decide to make it with a white person on it, or maybe no person at all. But I prefer it when it was a black person showing their incredible skill at baking pancakes. So God bless you all and have a good evening.
So he tried to pivot it, huh? So
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah, so
Go ahead, I'll let you finish the story.
if you recall in 2020, the public lynching by knee of George Floyd for the whole world to see played out on social media. Worldwide protests ensued with millions of people demanding justice for George Floyd, police reform, and an end to systemic and institutionalized racism. So corporate America, they listened and started implementing things to level the playing field for blacks. Well, just make sure you do your research on Aunt Jemima, because there's a whole story behind Aunt Jemima, the pancake recipe that was created by Nancy Green, who was born in slavery and went on to create the American pancake.
And was stolen, yeah. That she didn't receive anything.
And Nancy Green, she reportedly sold approximately 50,000 boxes of the pancake mix. And then it was sold to the milling company. So, and I know Classy Lady Spark, she kind of went all into detail about that previously. Well, in 2020, the PepsiCo and the Quaker Oats company made a commitment to change the name and image of Aunt Jemima to the Pearl Milling Company. And as we know, Aunt Jemima has for long been associated with the Mamie character. So, ironically, this is what I was surprised about, is there are some black people who are agreeing with Ben Stein and saying they miss seeing Aunt Jemima on that bottle.
Yeah.
But however, actor comedian D.L. Hughley is calling out the hypocrites who are turning a blind eye against they're turning a blind eye to Ben Stein, but they were quick to cancel Kanye West and Kyrie Irving. So what's your thoughts? Let's talk.
I agree with that. 100% agree with that. It's no question. You can't even it's hypocrites, period. You can't defend it.
So what's your thoughts on, because when I looked at it, I took offense.
Right.
And then I'm thinking, like, we're not monolithic. We're not monolithic. Some people feel, you have some blacks that feel different ways about it. And I saw some blacks who were not offended by this. And they were just kind of like, oh, well, I miss seeing her on the bottle too.
Yeah. That's because, so let's talk about intention on one community or corporation or system versus intention of people who had to grow up that way. right? And I would argue that the people who didn't take offense to that are the people who grew up with their grandmothers who resembles her, their mothers who resembles her, who were, yes, the big mamas, so to speak, who would wake up, go ahead, I want some pancakes, pulling out the pancake box and seeing someone who looks like mommy, Big Mama. And if you look at Tyler Perry's, was it Tyler Perry made that, right? Yeah, Big Mama, right?
No,
That was
Mark Lawrence,
Yeah.
Mark Lawrence looked just like that.
Right.
If you look at, what's the, I can't remember that.
There's a couple of them.
A lot of movies.
Clumps, Sherman Clumps.
Sherman Clumps.
Yes, it's a few of them.
Yeah, all of the big mamas look like the person that was on that box. So I can see that argument, but I understand the layers of that, which
There are many layers.
Yes, the layers within that visual, that construct that we grew up under, right? And so when we talk about systemic racism, that was specifically what the doctor who was on were talking about, that because there's certain things sometimes we don't see, right? And so oftentimes we don't even know that we are it's trauma attached to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And we are programmed to look at their box and think it's okay. Right? And so until you are educated to understand, that's when we have to say, okay, but what I will say, we have to lend some space for people who literally grew up like that and don't think that it's a problem. Because literally, I would like to have seen someone like her on that box and get paid for it. Yeah,
Well, curves is one thing, but if you pay attention to what they wore.
Right.
So this is when you get into, like, when you mentioned layers.
Right.
We have to think about time periods.
Right.
So the first question is, when did this brand come out? And when did that hit the shelves? Because if that hit the shelves in the 1800s or
That's
early
what
1900s,
that time-
that's how they dressed
Yeah,
then,
yeah, yeah.
and that's how they look. And even now, I mean, I remember going up to Sylvia's in New York, and sometimes she would come out and greet her customers, but we tie our hair up because we're working in the kitchen and we don't want to get hair in the food.
Yeah.
Right.
For those who don't think about that, and when we go to restaurants, to all of those, when I go to restaurants and find hair in the food,
100%.
we wrap our hair, so and then the aprons. So you're already looking at the outfits of what they wore in that time period, and now you have an apron over, and now the hair's tied up. You understand? So anybody who dressed that style, because back then they wore those dresses. You know, a lot of women didn't wear pants back in those days.
Exactly.
So they wore those kind of dresses.
100%.
You got the apron on top, and the hair is wrapped up because I'm cooking in the kitchen. So
Right.
anybody of color, if you put that same outfit on them,
Yeah.
what they would cook in the kitchen, that's what they would look like.
So and that's
Yes.
my point. And that's my point. So if you
So-
was to put somebody like her on
Absolutely.
it, who's prominent in making food, and I would literally want to see her on a box that saw these pancakes, I would buy that because she looks like me. Well, not me
Yeah.
specifically,
No, yeah.
but she looks like me. She looks like a mother. She looked like somebody that I
That
can
you-
identify
right,
with.
Right.
Exactly.
So what they did was they put her on the box looking the way she looked when she's cooking in the kitchen.
Yes.
Not because guess what? You know who else probably look like that when they cooking in their kitchen? Patti LaBelle. But when they
There
put
you
Patti
go.
LaBelle's brand out,
They not
they
putting
put
her
Patti
in it.
LaBelle's brand out with her, not with her hair tied up and with her apron off, looking like she looks when she's on stage.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
Yes.
see what I'm saying?
That's her brand,
Like,
yeah.
but that's her brand.
Yeah, that's her brand.
But like you said, people who grew up in that era,
That's right.
knowing that that's what that looked like, they're okay with it because like, well, that's how they look then.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, you do have some people that had that feeling was like, well, why did they take her off?
Yeah.
She's been on the time like, you know, why
Yeah.
did y'all take her off?
Yes.
And because some people felt like this isn't so we don't look because now in today's time
Yeah.
we don't look like that
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
They're trying to keep us in that space or you know. So like you said, it's layers and everybody's is looking at it differently.
Everybody's looking at it differently. And so I think we just need to, I think when we talk about this stuff, we need to make sure we first put it in context.
Yeah.
And speak from the context and talk about that part of it. Like, this is we're coming from this particular context, and this is what I mean by. But I would love to see like a Saudi with her own. I support her just because she's a sister, though, honestly, and that's one of the reasons. And I won't go into like the whole mayoral thing, but that's the reason why I appreciate. Jeff Brown, because he's literally the only one that gave that sister a chance and put her stuff in a major kind of like industry, a major situation. And so, shout out to her. Shout out to Saudi. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep, no doubt.
And then another thing, like as you're doing your research, you have to look at the advertisement that was surrounded by this pancake box. And I was looking at some of it. I'm like, they had one that says, "Isa in town, honey."
See, that's where.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Every bite is happifying. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Strong.
Like,
Yeah.
Then
Now,
they-
was that then now?
That was old. These are old advertisements.
Which is how they spoke.
That was how they spoke.
So Yvonne,
So-
for us, if we say John and then later down, they'll be like, well, why are they talking like
Why they
that?
saying John? Yeah, I got you. Yeah. No, yeah.
Idioms.
But
I
it's,
mean,
no,
it's
for
That's
like-
why I said, like Charles said, context. First and foremost, what year did this come out?
Yeah.
Because advertising is always based around what's happening in that time period.
right.
Yeah. Well, I believe it, and then they got one where it's she's standing in the window of some, white family's home, and
Yeah, that's strong.
they sure needs me in this house
Yeah.
to come in as a,
The maid.
yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, we know how they treated us, and we know the trauma attached to that, and we know the systemic racism that's attached to that.
And that's why they
Yeah,
went.
yeah.
Because they're looking, you're living life forward to understand it backwards. You're looking back and say that was wrong. If that was wrong and we know better now, let's go ahead and remove it.
And
Exactly.
you know what? If they put her on that box now and said, "This is such and such creator of such and such historic pancake," I would love to see her on that box. If they gave her props and gave her legacy and gave her people the
Reparations,
reparations of it, I would love to see her on that box. Like, give her props. Yep.
Yeah, because I think I can't remember the actual years, but I think in 1893 is when she sold it to them. I think she passed in 1923.
Yeah. They still didn't give her the money that she was deserved for that. So I always feel like they still stole from her. Like, but okay, she got paid for, but still, she is a legacy, and she needs to be acknowledged, and she needs to be held. That's what I would like to see in the African American Museum, stuff like that. That's the people who we grew up in. Period. But no, I get it, and I understand it, and I understand the context with which he's coming from, and so that deserves credence, right? And if you even look at the racist like cartoons, like Tom and Jerry had, they never showed her face, but you seen someone who
Black
looked
feet,
either black
legs,
feet,
the black legs.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
Heavy set.
what I have an issue with.
Yeah.
If talking about Aunt Jemima, like if this is a real person who posed for this picture, that's how she dressed. I say, look, this is a real person.
Yeah.
But when y'all start drawing characters,
Yep.
that's different.
Yep. 100%.
That's different.
Yep. And then you take the Aunt Jemima, but you make her black as tar. It's like,
Right.
come on now, with some red lips. Come on, come on.
Yeah, for sure. All right, no doubt.
All right, so the Celebrity Sizzle
Hey,
Award.
sis, you got us in our bag.
I know. I just
I didn't realize the time. I was like, oh, we gotta go.
All right, so when you think about NBA greats and the GOATs, Michael Jordan definitely comes to mind, arguably as one of the greatest of all time. Well, the GOAT in the eyes of many is celebrating his 60th birthday in a major way. So in honor of his milestone, he's not only donated $10 million to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, but he's continuing his dedication to his 10-year Black community commitment and donating $2.3 million in grant funding to nonprofit organizations. So in 2020, Jordan launched a fund of $100 million to disperse over 10 years, and each year Jordan community grants are awarded to nonprofit organizations. So according to Nike, the community grants program is structured to empower communities around the United States to lead grassroots solutions in their neighborhoods. As part of our Black commitment, our annual cycle of community grants enables nonprofit organizations to directly affect change in their cities. So 48 grassroots organizations have received the funding, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Joss and Love Now Media. They were the 2021 grant recipients of the Jordan Community Grants. So shout out to Jordan, and I'm your girl Lauren Sizzle, and that was the Sizzle.
And that was the Sizzle, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your boy Charles Gregory with the beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
and the beautiful
Classy Lady Sparkle.
and beautiful.
Lady S Dizzle.
Yeah, that's good. Sizzle. We just gotta. I think we have to start speaking from context, and I think we have to start allowing people space, especially those who grew up in a certain time
They
era.
change everything.
You know, and it's hard for them to, pivot. It's hard for them to change their ways. They need some space to do that.
But they changed the narrative, like you said. Like Betty Boop, black woman.
Yeah.
She's now white.
That
Right.
there.
Wow.
All her
Whitewashing
stuff.
characters.
And she was beautiful.
Yeah,
She was
Cleopatra.
beautiful.
Like it's
Cleopatra,
so many that they're
Whitewashing
like,
characters.
yeah, like you buy Betty Boop, my mother loves her, but my Betty Boops that I get her as presents are always the original, who was a black woman.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's like, I mean, I think Aunt Jemima should be on there, but then they did change Aunt Jemima and made her
Try to make her look
cuter, kind of. I don't know.
pearls and-
Right. And when I speak about, when I said the silhouette part, I'm talking about Big Mama. My
Yeah.
grandmother, both my grandmothers, paternal and maternal, were big bosom women, big, behind, like, that's what it was. So that's what my image looked like, as a Big Mama going
Both my
downstairs.
grandmothers.
Yeah, going downstairs to make
My
you something
mom,
to
my
eat.
grandma.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, I mean, it's, like you said, it's in context.
Well, because
but-
they're grandparents. Come on, we ain't the only culture that gain weight when we get old.
Right.
You know,
right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And
There's some heavy set grandmamas out there of other nationality races.
yeah, it is. And those who are saying like, oh, I don't think Ben Stein meant it in that way. This man is educated. Wasn't he a civil rights advocate or whatever? He's smart. He got money. He's rich. He's in what was it, Malibu? He's in his extravagant home. You know better. You know better. So he doesn't get a pass.
There you go. Don't get a pass, player. The Sizzle said it. Esther Jones, that's her name. The original Betty Boop. Esther
Yeah.
Jones.
Okay.
Esther Jones. Well, that's our show. Yes, we talk weekly after the talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We talk weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
and the beautiful
Classy Lady
and the
Sparkle.
beautiful
Lady S Stein.
dynamic show.
Yes, it was.
Until next week, man. We'll see you on the other side. Holla.
All right, peace, y'all.
What's going on, you guys? This is Bridget Kelly, and you are locked into We Talk Weekly.